The equator. It's a ribbon of sunlight warming the middle of our Earth. A magical world of amazing creatures. And joyful people. An ancient paradise. An enduring mystery, waiting to be explored. The equator wraps the middle of our planet in a broad band of sunshine, warmth, and biodiversity. All life evolved here. Today, they are some of our last truly wild lands. They are filled with extraordinary creatures, many threatened by modern life, but Equatorial people are determined to protect them. These are their stories. In all its 40,000 kilometers, the equator has few cities. Most of it is wilderness, roamed by extraordinary animals, and dotted with villages of poor farmers. And in many places, the two, farmers and beasts, are fighting for the same food. In rural Uganda, a national effort to conserve iconic animals has had the ironic result of turning poor villagers into victims of marauding beasts.
Before the national parks were gazetted, the people used to live within the national park. And then with the gazetting of the parks, the people were pushed out so that they can live outside. And it has always been challenging, there's always been clashing between the authorities and the people. They always give them alternatives instead of going into the park and doing the hunting, which the authorities describe as poaching. They always give them alternatives so that they do not have to use the park as a source of survival. So now you find that the people no longer have problems with the authorities, the people now have problems with the animals.
Lillian Aherwe is an expert in using tiny creatures to control giant ones.
The main animals that are destructive to people in these communities, we have the monkeys, we have the lions, and we have the elephant.
This is our fruit garden,
Okay.
whereby we are working hard day and night to make sure that the elephants don't come and hit them.
So the elephants, you know, they always move in large groups. And then, of course, these are huge animals. Wherever they pass, they leave a mark. Whether it's a tree, they knock it off. They just come in and then destroy everything. You can imagine how a farmer wakes up in the morning. It's really terrible. Elephants don't usually keep the boundaries of the park. They always cross into the communities. You can't stop animals from moving unless if the park is fenced. But most cases, the parks are not fenced off. what separates maybe the park and the communities maybe a main road. That's it. So it's easier for animals to cross coming into this side. And you know, it's not easy to fight these animals. The people know they cannot kill the animal because it's easy to get a gun and then just shoot it and it dies. But people know it's not right. But of course, their security is also at risk.
The smallhold farmers here are surrounded by about 3,000 elephants who live in Queen Elizabeth Park. The villagers must always be on alert for marauders and prepared to deploy their very meager defenses. The noise will keep the elephants away briefly. Lillian Aharwe is working on a permanent solution. The effort to deter elephants is the unlikely result of Uganda's budding organic honey industry.
So after school, there was an opportunity at Malaika Honey, and they wanted a communications person. And the more I got involved, the more I became passionate about bees, and the more I learned that in just a span of 2-3 years, I just almost knew a whole lot about the whole beekeeping. Now, as we're trying to train farmers, we're always bringing the element of modern beekeeping, and our main focus point is on bee taming, trying to see that your beehives get colonized within the shortest time period, and also getting the most out of it.
The first step is getting local communities to accept bees. Lillian's colleague, Simon Turner, works with local school children to calm their fears in the hope that they, in turn, will convince their parents not to be afraid of having bees in their villages.
No. Come around here. And as you saw with the children, you know, actually the kids are right in there. And normally the experiences are running away from bees, and the parents would go there, the dad would go there at night and use a lot of smoke and fire. So I find that really rewarding. These are all girls too. Is that good? Who wants the last one?
The next step is getting the bees near the elephants. On the edge of Uganda's wild lands, Lillian Aharwe is building a fence of bees.
Okay, first of all, we're going to first tame the bees. This is an old one, very dark. So place it back. Sometimes these elephants come when they are really determined to eat the crops. The solution we've come up with is doing a bee fence. Now, the elephant does not have a lot of fur. That makes it easier for the bee to sting them. You find animals like monkeys, because they have a lot of fur, the bees don't really get to sting it very well. But for the elephants, very easy for them to get the pinch of the sting.
Honeybees die after stinging, but they will sting to protect their nests. The bee fences rely on that.
When you hang your hive, first of all, you have to hang it right. They are very strong wires.
So this one is stronger than an elephant.
You have to place the beehives together in a line to make the fence, hanged on poles so that they can easily swing. If you come and swing it, the bees will definitely come out to defend themselves. Now, in these hives, we put in bee wax, and the bees familiarize with that scent. So within a period of 1 month, the bees can easily colonize this hive.
The sound alone is enough to make elephants nervous. But when night falls, their hunger tempts them. They approach the village. They want to raid the gardens. But it's just not worth the risk. The farmers wake up to a peaceful dawn. The elephants are in the forest, and the bees are making honey. From Africa to South America and beyond, wild and agricultural lands are often so close on the equator that even small-scale farming is a problem for iconic creatures. On the volcanic islands of Galapagos, the microclimate changes with elevation, and the two seasons, wet and dry. The highlands are always wet and lush. They're a salad bowl for giant tortoises.
Why would a 600-pound tortoise drag itself up and down a volcano? Darwin asked locals why tortoise trails were going up and down the volcanoes. And of course the locals looked at him and said, well, because they migrate, of course.
During the wet season, tortoises migrate down the volcano from the highlands to the lowlands to get the tender new shoots.
So in the dry season, which we're in now, there's always a good food supply for tortoises up in the highlands. So when it dries out down here, the majority of the tortoises migrate up to the highlands to benefit from this year-round food availability, because there's nothing down here.
Steve Blake tracks the migration using radio telemetry to find tortoises that have GPS tags.
Yep. Este.
Ya,
88.
Sandra.
Sandra. 1408.
Ya es Kitty.
Kitty. The GPS tags last for up to 10 years. Within that 10 years, we get a position on the tortoise every hour over a decade. We can get wireless communication with the GPS on the animal and download the stored GPS data.
Cuando el primer... Bien, entonces toca con el imán y vamos a ver lo que va a pasar.
Okay. Tag started. Oh, negrita.
Tortoises here have been migrating for 1 million years, but in the last few decades, their route has changed.
On some of the islands, tortoises migrate up to about 15 kilometers in any given direction. It's a round trip of about 30 kilometers or so. Tortoises migrate, go into habitats which they really require. Urban development and social development and infrastructure development of the Galapagos Islands presents some potential problems. On inhabited islands, there's a lot of farming in those upland habitats, so the dry season end of the tortoise migration often ends in farmland. Farmers decide to put barriers around their farms, fences or other things, and keep tortoises out, then they may be losing critical dry season habitat. Giant tortoises of Galapagos we think of as these weird quirks of evolution. In fact, they're the last relics of a once diverse global lineage that lived around the planet in the subtropics and tropics.
Giant tortoises live on the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean and on Galapagos. The remote islands harbor the species, as it was eaten to extinction everywhere else.
When the whaling industry picked up and when the pirating business was going full strong in South America, then people turned up on the Galapagos in large numbers. They began to eat the giant tortoises, primarily eating them on their way out of Galapagos to sustain them on long voyages back home.
Today, giant tortoises draw tourists to Galapagos to marvel at and to mimic their strange physique.
Giant tortoises turned upside down, stuck in the hold of ships. They can live for a year or more without food and water. If the migration of giant tortoises is disrupted, we think there'll be pretty seriously bad consequences. The problem is they're such long-lived animals and such slow reproductive rates that you could really screw things up for giant tortoises very quickly, but you wouldn't see the effects for, a century perhaps.
But Galapagos is a place entirely dedicated to preserving its species. Authorities have collected specimens of the unique tortoises from each Galapagos island to breed them. Galapagos National Park and the Charles Darwin Research Station have been running the program for more than 50 years and have raised more than 4,000 tortoises to repopulate the islands.
We are now in the center of breeding of land turtles in captivity. Here we have populations of turtles from different islands. They are different species. The turtle is 23 centimeters long, which is this. When it achieves this measurement, they go back to their island of origin in the repatriation process. We are making sure that all turtle populations are healthy, and they are going to succeed in the future. Because once the species are extinct, there is no turning back.
He knows that from experience, they have just had a species go extinct.
I met Lonesome George in '72 when he was found. He was found on Pinta Island. He was brought here with the idea of breeding him here, but it wasn't achieved. Because if they had found a female, the species may have been preserved, but there weren't any. He was the only one. So he was under my care from then on until he died. So we became friends. Out of the 45 adult tortoises we had here, he was the most friendly one. So the hardest part comes now. When I found him dead. It seems it was age.
Lonesome George was the last male tortoise of the species found on Pinta Island, which meant he was genetically unique.
He's remembered because he is the only one of his species. He is the only one. His species ended.
Galapagos Park had Lonesome George preserved, so he would never be forgotten.
It looks like he's still alive, and he's coming to greet me. I remember him a lot.
Not long after he died, the authorities discovered a new tortoise species and named it after George's keeper,
This turtle lives in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz has always registered one species of turtles. After an investigative study and genetic analysis, it was determined there was another species of turtle on the island. It is the new species of turtle, Chelanoidus donfaustoi, in honor of Sir Fausto Arena. Now Santa Cruz has two species of turtles. Let's say that was a big discovery for science, because on one side we lost Lonesome George, one species, but we won a new species with Chelanoidus donfaustoi.
Ironically, it is the fact that the equator is such a paradise of abundance that makes it so dangerous for animals these days. The problem is that human appetites compete with animals for the very fertile lands on the equator. This is Sumatra's last big jungle. It's home to a very rare herd of wild elephants, who are guarded by a few tame ones.
Imbo is very special to me because he's been my elephant since the very start. I'm his mahout.
It's called the Flying Elephant Squad. Its job is to save Sumatra's wild elephants from destruction.
For me, mahout is like a protector of endangered animals. Elephants are now considered endangered species, so mahout is also a protector for those endangered animals, just like what I do every day.
20-year-old Yati is the first woman to join the elephant squad. Her job is to stop humans and elephants from clashing on palm oil plantations.
The main purpose of us being a mahout is, let's say there are some conflicts between humans and elephants. Some elephants would trespass into a farm owned by some people here. They will call the team to get the elephants back to their natural habitat.
More than half the rainforest here has been cut down to plant oil-producing palms. The equator's endless growing season produces 10 times more oil than crops grown in temperate zones. The bounty squeezed from this fruit satisfies a third of the world's market. It's so cheap that it's a boon for industries like biodiesel, cosmetics, and chocolate bars. But it's a disaster for wild elephants. The forests they rely on for food are being chopped down and burned down.
In my opinion, there are so many forest fires now. In my opinion, we are responsible to maintain our forests, to keep our forest green and sustainable. I'm sure when there are enough trees in this world, there will be less problems and destruction on this earth. There wouldn't be any floods if humans didn't set the forest on fire. We have to realize that forest is a natural habitat of endangered animals like elephants and tigers. They've all lived in the forest from the beginning.
Yati has been a mahout for just a year, paired with her elephant Imbo.
bagus.
Initially, I was introduced to the elephant. After I arrived, I was told which elephant I was going to handle. Then they taught me how to approach the elephant properly. It was not allowed to approach from the front side because he is a male elephant. I have to call his name first to get his attention, and he has to respond to it. If the elephant doesn't want me to call him, I cannot be with him.
Mundur. 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 Maju. After 3 months training, I got a good result in commanding Imbo. That means I did it. I have become Imbo's mahout. Tege. Kepala teh so besar kali. Ayo gue. Oke, Bang. Dorong. Yeah, it is all because of Imbo. I really love Imbo so much. If only a day goes by without seeing Imbo, or maybe when I'm on my holiday, I will think about my elephant a lot. Whether he has been moved, whether he has taken his bath. I really think a lot about him. It feels like he's my younger brother now. I feel like that.
The mahouts spend lots of time bonding with their elephants. They need to be sure that when they confront wild elephants, the tame ones stick with their mahouts. It's risky work. Mahouts are easily hurt by elephants, and elephants catch sickness from mahouts.
Bang, kita yuk.
When I visit the site once in every month, for a whole week we conduct general checkups.
Check-up. Indro, Ria, Lisa, Teso, Imbo.
Veterinarian Wanda Sari knows every elephant by name.
Oke, menyebar ya. Nah, jadi dokter hewan itu.
As a vet, I chose to work with elephants because they are the most challenging.
Di mana-mana dokter.
There are plenty of vets who work with dogs, cats, cows, and chickens. But for wild animals, there are not many female vets out there.
Wanda is a pioneer. Ancient Sumatrans tamed elephants. The practice was only recently revived to help control wild ones. She checks their mouths to see if they are dehydrated. She examines them for parasites, all very carefully.
To approach the elephants, as they are wild animals, other than paying attention to their behavior, the ear flapping, etc., I also need to bring the handler along in the case of captive elephants, because they are used to being with the handler every day.
Sering sama dia, sama mahout.
Diam. 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 Oh, diam.
Oke, sip. Salatnya lewat dulu. Imbo. Udah mandi? Udah. Kotorannya apa warnanya?
She's worried about Imbo. She thinks he's anemic.
Imbo tinggi.
I am worried Imbo will feel weak or something will happen to him. I will try to give Imbo some medications and check his condition. Perhaps Imbo should take a rest if he seems weak.
The prescription for Imbo is a B vitamin shot, which of course he hates.
Bagus.
Tantangan terbesar saya.
My biggest challenge in working with elephants is when I need to give them an injection or collect blood samples.
Nah, kenapa? Karena
Why?
menyuntik gajah.
Because the injection causes great pain for the elephant.
Mahout Yati has nursed Imbo back to health. Now they're training to go on patrol.
As the only girl here, I feel, well, I'm happy because I get more attention from them being the only female. If I go into the forest, they will join me almost everywhere. They will not leave me alone on my own. It's different with the other male mahout. They move their elephants alone with no help from the others.
An elephant drinks 100 liters of water a day and needs 200 kilos of plants to eat. Young elephants especially love the tender shoots of palm plants, which puts them in danger.
Normally, we get rid of wild elephants by using the captive elephants to escort wild elephants and by firing the cannon over and over again. When wild elephants hear the explosion sound, they will run away. But our captive elephants are not scared of it and will stay. They're used to those sounds.
Their job is to steer the young one back to its native paradise.
For me, the most beautiful place on earth is a place like this conservation forest. This place is still green. If you are in the forest, it feels peaceful, pleasant, quiet, and calm. This Tesonilo is the place for me.
Yati leads Imbo home through one of the last patches of one of the last great rainforests. The young elephant, the young woman, and her tiny band of mahouts form a thin line between Sumatra's last wild elephants and extinction. In other equatorial wildlands, animals are in even greater danger and need to be guarded much more closely. The Old Pajita Conservancy is a 90,000-acre oasis for Kenya's most iconic species. Of all the creatures here, the most fiercely protected is the northern white rhino. The world has only 3 of these gentle giants left.
The northern white rhino is a subspecies of white rhino that was actually native to northwestern part of Uganda, southern Sudan, DRC Congo, Central African Republic. But unfortunately, poaching intensified so much from 1950s, but heightened so much between 1970s and 1990s when we lost a substantial amount of elephants and rhinos to poaching. If you scan the native homelands of where they come from, you know, the political instability is what facilitated their populations to, you know, decline, especially the rebels and the guerrilla fighters. And they realized the value of the horn. That is when they took advantage of that and killed the northern white rhinos to have only 3 left as of now.
There were still 2,000 in the late 60s when the massacre began. Rhino horns can weigh 3 kilos. The horn costs $50,000 per kilo on the black market. The demand comes from Asia. It's based on beliefs about the horn's medical properties, which are entirely false.
Done, boy. A perfect day, of course, entails speaking and seeing Sudan, which is actually the sole reason I'm here. Him being okay, you know, makes my heart happy.
Sudan is the last male northern white rhino alive. He is a relic of the past and a message for the future.
Good. Done. Boy. One boy today. Typically, rhinos will live 40 years in the wild and up to 50 years in captivity. So Sudan being 44, if somewhat linked to human life, it can be like between 97 to 100 years in human life. So he is actually very old.
Foreigners want the rhino horns, but it's the local people who hunt them. One rhino can fetch $15,000, whereas a year's work here brings $1,000.
All right, so this is the rhino baraka. These animals are endangered. There are very small populations that are left, and it is our duty to protect these animals. Come on, baraka. Come on, baraka. Come on, buddy. Come on, baraka. Come on, boy. If you are able to change the mindset of the young people, you are either changing a future poacher or an animal byproducts dealer, or either you're changing the mindset to be a future conservationist. Because if we have to have a dream or a vision for these animals, then it basically has to start with young people. Working with the children, it really helps me appreciate that at least there's a seed that you're putting for the sake of the tomorrow of these animals. I mean, it makes my heart feel overwhelmed that at least, yeah, it's true that Sudan will go one day, but at least the platform that he has created to help people realize and understand is a very, very essential tool.
Old Pajita's rangers track the park's 110 black rhinos across the 90,000-acre property. Their protocol is to check on each rhino every couple of days.
We have about 60 and over rhinos, both white and black. Me to be here is to monitor whether they are all okay, if they are any sick, their health is okay, we push on. Poachers always came in daytime or earlier, like 4:30, 3:30 there, they may come in. So once they came in, they go to thick bushes where they can stay for the whole day monitoring the rhino, how the movements of rhino are. At around 7 or 8 there, they kick. Shoot, then take the horn quickly, then they run away. So we have to pass everywhere. If you don't do that, night they start disturbing us, killing rhinos like that. This park has a lot of rhino in East Africa. Because we take care of them, that's why the number is coming up. It will be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Northern white rhinos are a different story. There is only one male of the species left, the very elderly Sudan.
He's aged, he's getting arthritis, his hind legs are becoming weak, and he's developing some wounds on his skin. These are because of his lying down most of the time, and he developed these pressure wounds. So we've tried to create an environment whereby he has a good sleeping bed that has got soft sand and hay on it so that, you know, he can heal, the wounds can heal. We've also been treating and cleaning these wounds on a daily basis, and he's doing very well. Reproductively, he is not able to mate and reproduce with the other females because of his age. His sperm is low, he has a low sperm count, he cannot mount a female successfully and sustain an ejaculation and an intromission. We also are of the view that once he interacts with the females, they get to harass him, and he cannot handle that. So, but then, we expect that he can give us a few more years.
In fact, just a few months after this was filmed, Sudan died. James wrote a eulogy that said Sudan inspired him to continue working for conservation.
We never give up, especially when what you're fighting for will never speak for itself. So you definitely have to play your part. As much as possible, play your role, and then, yeah, everything will be fine.
The Equator has some of the last wilderness where humans and animals still live together. If people can learn to manage that proximity, not too near, not too far, there may be hope for the wondrous creatures of paradise.
For me, paradise is being able to live in an environment without any restrictions. The taste of a pineapple is the taste of a pineapple, and the taste of a mango is the taste of a mango. And this is because of the warm climate. We live near the sun, so this is close to paradise for me. Life is good.